everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and today we're going to be reacting to another TikTok. So we're going to watch it together and then reconvene. I'll tell you what I think and would love to hear from you guys down in the comments what you think too. So let's get started.
Should men pay for dates in today's dating market? Traditionally, yes, men have paid, and traditionally, men should pay. But we are in a society that's rebelling from traditionalism, traditional feminine value, and traditional feminine roles. You can't rebel from traditional roles and still expect a man in today's society to play a traditional role for you. If you consider yourself to be more of a modern woman, then you cannot expect traditional treatment. Ladies, you can't expect traditional treatment if you don't hold yourself to traditional values. Can't expect a man to play a traditional role for you when you aren't willing to play that same role for him.
Oh, so much common sense. Yes, yes, and yes. I talk about a lot of topics on my channel that kind of all, in a way, go back to this conversation about being traditional, modern, people having expectations for people that they aren't holding themselves to, and all of that jazz. It's something that I talk a lot about on my channel because I find it super interesting, but also because I think a lot of the problems we're seeing today in modern dating stem back to these unrealistic expectations and really just not being what you want to attract, right? And that's the first point that I want to talk about here is this be what you want to attract thing. Since this video specifically was about modern women wanting to be with traditional men, we'll just stay on that subject. I think many women tend to have a very extensive checklist of what they want in a partner, what they would like in a man, but then don't hold themselves to those same standards or expectations. They have a lot of opinions on what they expect or what their standards are or what they consider to be the bare minimum, right? But then in return have no idea what they're actually asking for, or even consider what that other person also wants too, right? A relationship is two people. It's not just about you and your needs. It's also about that other person and their needs too. But people seem to be more focused on what can you do for me instead of also thinking about what can I provide for you. So if you're going to create this checklist of what you want this person to do for you, you also have to stop and think, okay, what would my ideal man who I have just made a checklist for want in a woman? What do men want? If you want a man to play a traditional role for you, you got to play a traditional role for him. And you should absolutely be holding yourself to the same requirements and standards that you are expecting in a partner. This all goes back to being what you want to attract. If I want to attract a guy who is in shape, who takes care of himself, who is very handsome, well, I should be making sure that I'm taking care of myself, prioritizing my physical, mental well-being, and being someone that that guy would want to be with too, right? It sounds like common sense when you explain it, but it's something that I think a lot of people don't do and don't understand. It's all, I'm an independent boss babe that don't need no man until that restaurant check hits the table. And you're sitting there pretending you didn't see it. You can't cherry pick. And that's what I want to talk about next is this cherry picking and double standards thing. This is something that I notice a lot in our society, and I've obviously noticed it a lot more since I started posting this type of content on YouTube. But I'd actually heard some comedians joke about this. One that comes to mind is Bill Burr specifically, talking about how there's no feminists in a house fire or the Titanic. And again, it's this we're equals thing, or I'm an independent boss babe until, it's women and children first and the men are left in the house fire to burn alive. And all jokes aside, there really is this cherry picking of, picking and choosing when you want something to work in your favor and then completely ignoring it when it doesn't. Again, this we're equals thing, or I'm an independent boss babe and I don't need no man, but I don't want to go 50-50. I want my man to pay for all my bills, my entertainment, my food, because splitting bills 50-50 is disgusting. Make it make sense. It doesn't work that way. And I've also interviewed women who have sat here on this couch where I'm sitting and have said things like, I want to work and I want to be really successful, but I don't want any of my income to be used. I just want it to be my fun money and I don't want to contribute to any of the bills or our life at all. And I just don't understand. So you want someone to pay for all of your stuff even though you are successful and you're making money too. So his money is also your money, but your money is not his money. And I think this has become such an issue, and I actually plan to do an entire video about this specifically because I think it's such a problem of girls getting on TikTok and being like, if your man's not buying you a Rolex or getting you flowers every week or paying for all your stuff and you're splitting 50-50, then your man is a loser. Are we okay? It is totally fine to not want to split things 50-50, but then you have to understand the roles that you and your partner might have to play or switch up in a relationship in order for that to work out for you. And also think about what that man is looking for as well. I think a lot of women who are high earners and make a lot of money think that men are also looking for a woman who is as well, when in reality, most men don't care at all about the money that you're making and actually care more about things like you being supportive, you being encouraging, you bringing peace into his life instead of chaos or starting drama and arguments all the time, or just having a bad attitude, right? And there are a lot of double standards in our society as well for both men and women, but because the video I'm reacting to was mostly about money, I guess I'll try to stick to that topic. And obviously every relationship is different. Some people prefer more of a modernized, both people are working type of thing. I think it's also become a lot more difficult to have a one-income household in our economy these days. Everything is very expensive, inflation, the cost of living is going up, all of that jazz. There are a lot more relationships now where both people are working. So relationships look different for everyone, right? We all have different financial circumstances, and what works for one couple might not work for another. So it's not always black and white. There's some gray area and nuance here, and I do want to acknowledge that as well. But generally speaking here, it's tough to cherry pick when you're in a relationship and there's another person involved. And you're calling yourself a strong, independent woman who doesn't need a man and you want to be equal, but then when it comes to things like splitting bills and paying rent, you don't want any part of that. That becomes kind of a problem. And dating becomes really tough for you when you have this extensive list of requirements, or what people are calling standards now, that are actually just preferences, let's be real, for a person, but then they hold themselves to none of those. Or you are not being what that person you want to be with would want to be with at all. And I think if you classify yourself as a modern woman and you want to be with a man who upholds all of these traditional values, well, it's not really fair or going to work out for you. And a little bit off topic here, I'm not even sure what wave of feminism we're on at this point, but I do think it's had a huge impact on the way that men and women view each other, and also just relationship dynamics as a whole. And you can't just cherry pick the things that work in your favor and the things that you like and then ignore all the things that you don't. Because the reality is, if you're a woman and you want to be with a man who upholds traditional male values and roles, you gotta be someone that guy would want to be with too. And I know this is an assumption, but if I had to guess and bet money on it, the traditional man that we're talking about here probably wouldn't want to be with an independent boss babe that says she doesn't need no man. Being with someone who has values, morals, and life goals that align with yours is really important. And cherry picking really doesn't work out when it's quite literally the foundation that your relationship is based upon. So to answer her question of should men pay, well, there's really no black and white answer there either. I've said this before and I'll say it again, I think that paying on a first date is a very gentlemanly, chivalrous thing to do. If you like the girl that you're on a date with, it's a kind gesture and a great girl would appreciate it. However, if she's rude to you, or the date is horrible, or she acts like you owe her something, well, maybe don't pay for it. If she is sitting there on the first date with you going on and on about how she doesn't need a man or how she's an independent boss babe, let her pay half the bill. I really think a great way to avoid this altogether is just going somewhere inexpensive or free on the first date. Dating can get really expensive, and I think any girl who demands a fancy first date, that's a red flag to begin with. To wrap all of this up with a big red bow, the moral of the story here is to be what you want to attract. If you're a woman looking for a man who upholds all of these traditional roles or values within a relationship, well, you're probably gonna have to do that too. And another thing to keep in mind is that you also have to consider what that other person wants as well. Are you being someone that the person you want to be with would want to be with too? Sit and think about it. Let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts and perspectives and opinions. If you liked this video or found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to be in the loop for when I release new content. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me over on Instagram at Courtney Christine Ryan. I love connecting with all of you guys over on there as well. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.